The UFC is about to take a sponsorship deal with Bud Light after all of the boycotts and the Dylan Mulvaney scandal. And this is especially ironic given that Dana White, who is running the UFC, is outspokenly right-wing. And I wouldn't have assumed he would be cool with this, but he's actually defended the decision to his fan base. I don't think that this is going to be popular with them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this goes, given the I personally think that the boycott went on for so long now that it's a little bit past its the brunt of when it was the most successful. So I think that this one could end up fizzling out.
They should have done a deal with ultra right beer.
That would have.
Although that would have made them less money. But this says lighting that money on fire would have been less embarrassing than what's about to happen. But isn't this Bud Light trying to repair their reputation after Dylan Mulvaney?
There was another great Babylon Bee meme. It says Bud Light tries to repair its image after Dylan Mulvaney scandal by co-signing a show where sweaty men hug for 25 minutes. Let's listen to this.
They want to be popular with men again. They're trying to ingratiate themselves to the people that were their customer base.
Yep. Here we go.
They were the first beer company that we really did business with. They're our first real big sponsor when we were getting started, and now we're back with them. And going into this deal, you know, I know all the controversy and everything else, but for myself, going into a long-term deal with another sponsor, I want to be with somebody that I'm actually aligned with. And I know people were upset with what they did, but I'm looking at all the good things that they do. You know, they employ 65,000 Americans. They have thousands of vets that work for them. They spend $700 million a year with U.S. farmers using their crops to make their products, and many, many other great things that Anheuser-Busch has done in this country. And those are the things that I'm focused on. When I look at a long-term sponsor that's going to be, we're going to do a 6-year deal here. I want to be with somebody that I'm aligned with. All those things that I just mentioned to you are what I'm all about. And not to mention, they have this thing called Folds of Honor. I'm very big into law enforcement and military. And over the last, I don't know how many years, they've spent like $45 million taking care of, you know, these servicemen and first responders who have died, taking care of their families, scholarships for their kids and things like that. So I am very aligned with Anheuser-Busch. They were the...
That doesn't explain why we were told that it was a frat boy culture that needed to be changed on their target demographics. He expertly moved the discussion.
They media trained him well.
Yes.
He's
always been good at that.
Didn't they fire a bunch of people, though, Bud Light?
Yeah.
Didn't they get rid of those marketing people? Didn't they get rid of a lot of the people who made those decisions? So I think it makes sense. Redemption should be possible.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't have that same. I agree, but
I'm like
saw that
fully
video.
on board
I
with
believe
redemption.
I believe in person, like an individual redeeming themselves. I'm a lot more skeptical of a
corporation.
Because I don't actually. The thing is, I don't actually look for a corporation to need to be redeemed most of the time. I don't look as corporations as people. I look at corporations as profit-seeking entities that do all sorts of good and bad things. Some of it, sure, they might donate a ton of money to help other people. They're not doing that because the corporation has a heart of its own that beats and feels good about doing good things. The example I always give is Vince McMahon, the owner of WWE, ironically enough, owned by Endeavor Media, which also Endeavor Corporation, which also owns UFC. He allows anyone who's ever worked for WWE at any time to go to rehab for free on their dime. That's not because Vince McMahon is a swell guy with a heart of gold. It's because WWE had an enormous drug problem that saw hundreds of wrestlers die young because of the coke-fueled promos of the 80s and the steroid scandals. It's good PR for the company to allow people to see them helping people who struggle.
Sure, but corporations are made up of people. I mean, corporations are made up of human beings who have thoughts and feelings and whatnot.
When decisions are made by consensus, I find it hard. At least for maybe I'm also very dumb. So like when corporations are aligned with people who make decisions by consensus, then am I supposed to act, which 37 of these people were the ones that voted for this to be the policy?
Do corporations make their decisions based on consensus? I mean, that doesn't sound...
But they vote. I mean, I'm assuming that the board votes on ideas.
No, the board doesn't vote on ideas. The board tells you when you've screwed up and they're losing money.
So then the ideas are then put forth by what? The promotion is
whoever,
done by
whoever comes up with the idea, whose department it is, brings the idea. So
like
if
that
it's
horrible VP of marketing that they fired.
Right, like the horrible VP of marketing who they fired came up with the stupid Dylan Mulvaney idea and then just did it, right? Because they're in charge of marketing, so they just did it.
I tend to not look at any corporate entity as something for me to get emotionally involved
Oh, for sure. I agree with you on that.
Like, it doesn't benefit me. I don't think it benefits anyone else. I understand why people boycott these companies. I don't. My goal is to not care enough about them to allow it to affect my daily life.
I did not boycott Bud Light, but I also don't drink beer.
I don't drink Bud Light. I don't drink anyway, so it doesn't affect me. But I'm not going to not go to Target if I need something because of.
I'm going to not go to Target because it's further away than Walmart.
That used to be true for me, but now because of the detour,
because of the stupid detour,
I have to go to Target, and it was really funny the last time we were there. I was like, I had to get something like a power strip, and I was like, I don't even know where to look for this without a search key on my phone.
Right? Yeah.
I'd actually go and then I got into it. I'm like going and looking through the aisles. It appealed to like the hunter gatherer in me to go around looking for things
to just go find it.
But yeah, like do you guys are there companies that you boycott on principle? Is there anything that you boycott on principle?
I don't think of anything off the top of my head. I think my tax dollars are already being used to support things that I'm ethically opposed to.
Like so many things.
So you're powerless no matter what. You can vote with your dollar only to such an extent. And me boycotting something like Starbucks or Target or what have you, it will never have an effect on their bottom line.
I do love the idea that instead of saying all those things, I understand that what Dana White's response was the right one. It was the media trained proper response in that situation. I would have rather he'd have been like, it was a lot of money. Like I wanted the money.
Like that's the real honest answer.
Yes. Like that's a lot of zeros. I believe in we are aligned in the fact that we believe in checks with lots of zeros on them. That appeals to me more than like I'd rather have the brutal honesty than the shifted answer where you kind of just shift the focus of the discussion onto something else, which anybody who has spent any time watching any type of media personality respond to a press conference knows that there's objective behind that.
Well, I mean, reading this Variety interview with Bill Abbott, who is in charge of Great American Family, is the prime example of that.
Absolutely.
And you know what? He actually did a terrible job of answering these questions and should have never taken an interview like this in the first place. Like, all of the trade magazines are already going to be attacking you.
It's like Daily Wire.
Why would you engage with them?
It's like the Daily Wire going to Variety and being like, I would like to do an interview with you, and then not expecting them to sandbag you.
It was the same thing that happened with the director of Sound of Freedom doing an interview with Variety and then being like, well, what do you say about Jim Caviezel being a QAnon conspiracy theorist? Except this interview was even worse because the entire time they're trying to get him to answer for Candace Cameron Bure being Christian and therefore not wanting to put gay couples in Hallmark Christmas movies. It's not that complicated.
Well, the thing too
is their content officer. She's in charge of content. That's what she had to say about it.
Also, who is the demographic who watches Hallmark films?
This is white Christian women.
So let them have their representation.
Right.
Like, everybody gets to have representation except for people with traditional values.
I think that the demographic maybe for Great American Family is white Christian women. I think the demographic for Hallmark
it might be a little more mixed.
It's just white Western women. And I don't think that the average white Western woman cares or has a problem with seeing gay marriage on screen. I think if you whittle that down to the idea that it's the Christian demographic, which would have been heavy, but Hallmark isn't suffering. Hallmark is expanding their portfolio every year.
Well, this says Great American Family has expanded a lot, like by 150% audience increase.
Before they've made these changes. We'll see what happens. Well, we'll
but
see
it looks
what they
like you broke off from Hallmark to make your ideological stance known. And now that you have this alternative network, you're just going to bend the knee once again? It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
And you've put yourself in a vulnerable position for no reason. One question they asked was, You've mentioned in most of our conversations that diversity and inclusivity are important to you. On your holiday slate, only 1 of 20 movies has black leads. What kind of changes are you working on?
There's no right answer to that question.
Yeah.
It doesn't. You could be like, next year, all 20 of our movies are going to have black leads. And they'll be like, yeah, but why don't you make more movies so that there's more black? There's no right answer to that question.
Or are they all tokens? Is that what you're doing? Exactly. Are you going to do a hip hop Christmas and it's going to be a token?
Yeah. I'm not
token
even
Hallmark film.
I'm not even going to read his response to that because it was just so blundering and directionless. It doesn't mean anything. He's just trying to appease them.
See, what I would say is I think your values are trash and I'm not interested in them.
He tried
They
to.
are, though. They
yeah,
are
exactly.
interested in it.
They are
They
interested
still.
in them.
What I think a lot of these companies make the mistake of doing is once they break off and do their own thing, they still get that hankering for that mainstream approval. They want the validation and the validity that comes from the positive articles and stuff like that, not realizing that will never happen again.
If the nicest Christian wife lady, Candace Bure, has more balls than you, evaluate. Evaluate where you're going, dude. Like, you are an executive of a giant company and you gave up an even bigger company to do this. Take a stand on something.
It turns out that the Camerons have bigger balls than most.
Right?
Right? I mean, Kirk Cameron is really, he's just out there very directly saying what he thinks and what he believes in.
She might also just be more of a believer than him.
I believe that's probably true. They said, is she a spokesperson for the company? Now, she is the chief content officer. She's in charge of the content that they make. I don't know what could give her more power over the types of storylines and casting that they approve. And he still insists that when she does interviews and she talks about the direction of Great American Family, that she's just talking about her own opinions and she can't speak for the company.
Even though she's programming for the company.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And that obviously came off as a ridiculous non-answer to the interviewer. So they said, okay, so I'm going to ask you as the voice of the company, when it comes to featuring same-sex couples in films, is that something you guys want to do or plan to do? Here's his stupid answer. I think that's a very good and fair question. I don't think when we set out to do any type of movie, we cast it first. The first thing we think about is a great storyline or great characters on an emotional journey. We're not seeking to do anything or not do anything. Like, what are you doing then? And we take it every day as it comes. This business is so challenged across the entire industry right now that we're just looking to celebrate great stories. We don't have an agenda either way. It's not in the faith and family playbook to have agendas that are either pro or anti. We want to entertain and inspire and be uplifting and consistently provide an experience that is high quality. That is our most important objective. I get that they can say we're trying to make content without an agenda, but your company is called Great American Family. You've been open about talking about faith values and family values. These are the things you are pro. You can't just sit on the fence forever. Yep. Take a side. There's no way to exist in the middle anymore.
Here's it just reminded me, like, my new favorite meta and the thing that's been popping off this year is all of the every Hallmark movie ever skits, which are always my favorite thing to watch here.
Wow, this place is lovely.
Thanks. Hi. I'm a small-town guy.
Oh, hi. I'm big city girl.
Truth is, if we don't sell more pumpkins, we may have to shut the whole patch down.
Oh, that's terrible. Well, maybe I can help.
How so?
Well, I used to do marketing in the big city, but my job kept me from ever having a meaningful relationship, so I had to leave.
Marketing? I never thought of that. Yeah, ever since I opened up a pumpkin patch, I haven't made time for myself either.
Okay, I'll help, but you have to promise not to fall in love with me.
A small-town guy falling for a big city girl like yourself? Not a chance.
Wow. I love it.
I have like a whole folder of like that's there
really
used to
cute.
be this guy. There used to be this this Instagrammer named Max the Very Good Boy who he'd make like 5 of these every year. And now it's like I don't think he wants to make them anymore because like he's just so sick because it's so memeable that everybody makes these now. Hi. I'm a small town guy. The comments are correct though. They forgot the part where he's a widow. He's he's got
Well,
a
it depends
child
on the age range that they are, but yeah. Love that. Love the flannel. Everything about it.
I love
Keep
that
it simple, stupid.
Right? I love that it's a
with
pumpkin
the
patch.
theatrics.
It's not a farm. He doesn't have a farm.
Yeah.
He just has a pumpkin patch.
Or it's a coffee shop or
Right.
something like that.
Whatever it is.
marketing. I never thought of that.
It never occurred to me to tell anyone we have a pumpkin patch. And that we sell things here
It's
at the pumpkin patch farm stand.
It's my favorite. Look, I lived by a place where I lived in. I was right in off of a main road, and there was a mini apple orchard at this house that you could just go, and it was only open right before Thanksgiving and up till late September to the end of October. It's the only time. I don't know what they did the rest of the year. I assume they had normal jobs the rest of the year. But yeah. So yeah, and I think you're right. For a lot of it, it's in his mind, you can equivocate and find a middle ground there. You can't, at least not if you're going to give this interview.
No.
Right?
He shouldn't have taken the interview in the first place, but he clearly doesn't know what he's doing.
He should have given the interview to Candace Cameron Bure.
She's better at speaking up for what she believes.
Yeah.
And it speaks to what we were talking about earlier, is as a company, you have to know what the hell you're selling and who the hell you're selling it to.
We're not really trying to sell anything or not sell anything, and we're not pro or anti anything, and we're not trying to do anything or not do anything. We're just thing.
I always have a sting.
That's not how you appeal to anyone.
I never miss a thing.
So the left already hates you. The middle probably doesn't know you exist, and the right is looking for you to not abandon them. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I would love a third one, given that it's Friday. How about that? Yeah. People yesterday. Is Ian back yet?
Was he ever gone?
Is Ian back? I have no idea.
I didn't know he was
back.
No, I'm doing IRL again in Ian's chair tonight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Long day.
It's a long day.
Long day.
When I figured out how long the day was, I was like, damn.
Yeah.
That's really quite something. And I didn't bring dinner with me, so
The
I'm hoping there's something in the fridge.
There's something in the fridge. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.